welcome to Be a Light podcast. I have met many inspirational individuals over the years and also across platforms. Recently, I have met many inspirational individuals across the globe. And today I have had the honor to invite my colleague and also a friend from Germany, and Martin Drux. And in this episode, I will invite him to share the multicultural and diversity and inclusion and all the other things positive. Martin is the multinational executive at Marsh McLennan, and he has been an influential figure on LinkedIn as well. So welcome, Martin, to my show.
Thank you very much. Great being here, and it's a great pleasure to be on your podcast.
Since we met actually through the Teens channel when I saw your post like a little over a year ago, and I saw you showed great compassion for the marginalized groups and also for the other colleagues, and you constantly sharing posts to show support and encouragement to other people on your LinkedIn and on other posts. So I'm just very, very inspired by you ever since I just followed you. Would you like to share a little bit of your background and how you landed in your current role?
Sure, pleasure. So yeah, I landed in insurance about 30 years ago by coincidence. So I started economics, and then I was getting tired of studying, and so I wanted to first do a training on the job and send out my CVs and landed a training program, a graduate program with an insurance broker. And ever since I was stranded in there. I mean, I had a brief time where I was working actually for an advertisement agency, but I've always been in insurance. But domestic business never really excited me. So at a very early stage, my second job in insurance got me into what's now the legacy company of Marsh, and it was called Gradmann Holler International in Frankfurt, Germany. And then ever since, I stayed in the multinational side of the business, and I really enjoyed it to the very day. So with the business, I moved to the US. I worked in London, and I came back, but always stayed in the multinational space. I really love it. And then 11 years ago, when Marsh restructured the regions, we created a region called Continental Europe, and they were looking for a dedicated multinational leader, and they appointed me. And that really was me landing my dream job, because I really like it so much that I can combine my passion and my work.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love the Marsh McLennan's company culture too. And because of that, and we get the opportunity to meet. And there are so many colleague resource groups too. So get all the colleagues have the platform to connect and to learn from each other, to get inspired from each other. And sounds like you definitely travel a lot, and also the multinational role enabled you to travel to different countries. So how you manage this type of multicultural, multinational affairs? For example, if you go to different countries to present, do you need to specifically prepare for that country's to fit in that country's culture?
That's actually a very, very good question. Yes and no is the answer. I think the most important part is in all of this that you try and be as authentic as you are wherever you go, because people are people in every corner of the world. And so if you really approach people with an open mind, with an open heart, and you in curiosity, then they will welcome you, and it'll be all good. But having said that, you still have certain things, certain aspects, I think they're called something like the cultural dimensions, that you have to be aware of. So these could be hierarchy, and I had to encounter, so Germans, for instance, are usually very matter-of-factly, and they go straight to the point, and a business meeting is all about business. Even though things are changing, this has historically been the case. In other countries, it's more important to build trust, and you do that through casual conversations, maybe through joining a dinner or sharing a meal. So that is, of course, important to know. And but by now, I have a pretty good sense, having traveled to most corners of the world, what is appropriate and what is not appropriate, and how to present yourselves. Another aspect is, of course, language, because I'm not a native language speaker, neither are you, and neither are most of the people that I'm dealing with. So you have to make sure that you speak in simple terms, clear language. You pause often and sometimes repeat yourself, use different words, so to make sure that you're understood, that the message is clear. Using humor is a good thing, but you have to be, of course, sensitive to the fact that some cultures might find certain jokes offensive. So you have to make sure that whenever you use humor, it's usually at your own expense. It is very lighthearted, not political or religious or cultural. So those kind of things are my general roadmap to survive in different corners.
Wow, that sounds a very robust background experience to prepare you to fit in all types of situations, I'm sure. And all the experiences and the tips you just shared are very valuable to many people to watch out. Don't set fire, but just try to connect as effectively as possible. So yeah, you mentioned that English is not obviously not your first language, so we share that in common. Have you found speaking English as an obstacle in some way, or whenever you started feeling comfortable in speaking English?
So I always had an interest in languages, because I think that they are the key to unlock different cultures, to get connected with other people, because eventually you have to overcome your own language and learn another language in order to connect with someone else. And English is, in many parts of the world, the one language that everybody agrees on. So no, I wouldn't say it has become an obstacle, but when I started, it was tricky, because you have your school English, but then you have all of a sudden your business English. And even in business English, you have to learn vocabulary, but then you have words that mean something differently in different parts of the world. So I was, for instance, so coming back to a word solicitation. So I remember that I think it was in the US, where you say no soliciting, as in do not trespass. And in England, you would have a solicitor who is some kind of a lawyer, or you have terms like deductible versus excess. And you have certain terms that are different in different parts. Even within the English world, people would use different words. And so that was, in the beginning, something to learn. And also, I remember the first couple of times, I wasn't used to foreign accents. And so having phone conversations could have been very stressful, because I would not understand maybe people from Italy or India or Latin America if they had a strong accent. And probably that went both ways. I've been working in this for 30 years, and almost every conversation that I have business-wise is with somebody whose native language is not English, but we speak in English. So the brain starts adapting to it. So now I can hold up conversations with people with the strongest accents, because my brain is now filling in the gaps and kind of deciphers the accent, so that it becomes still like a very, very audible language to me. But it takes time, and I would only say that people that are starting to work in English as a foreign language, the key to it is like with cooking or sports or exercise or anything. be patient. It takes time, but keep practicing, and do more of it, not less. So overcome your fears, and ultimately it'll open doors.
Yeah, wow, that's a wonderful experience that you shared. Can inspire many people to open to listen to people with accents, because the more you got exposed to, the more you get comfortable, and then your brain just adapt to the different accents. That's a great skill to have. And this also applies to some of the native English speakers who have never been exposed to some of the people who speak English as a second language with the accent. Yeah, even if people with a tiny bit accent, they find it challenging. So I think that's a good skill to have.
It's not something that the brain will adapt to automatically. It's something, but you need to practice it. And the other part, of course, is very interesting that I think a lot of native English speakers struggle with one aspect of their language, is that, for instance, especially if you go to England, your social status is defined by language. So using very, very rare and complicated words in a very complicated and complex sentence structures shows that you had a great education, and you went to Ivy League schools, and and it shows your social status, but it makes you absolutely useless for a multinational role, because in multinational you have people somewhere in different corners of the world who have English as a second, third, or fourth language, and they don't have your vocabulary. They didn't go to Cambridge or Oxford. They would like to hear something that they understand. So simple, short sentences, simple word, like grammatic structures. Those are important, and not using big words. So even native English speakers have to work on their English speaking skills if they want to engage with other cultures.
Wow, that's a very insightful point that you just pointed out. Sometimes fancy words, big words can show your status, but not necessarily contribute to the effective communication. Yeah. That's
like, oh, you sound smart, but what did you actually say? So, what was the point of that, right? So
exactly,
you want to be understood. So have short sentences and use a simple vocabulary.
Yeah. What you shared just empowered many people who are speaking English as a second language with simple terms and simple English. As long as they can communicate effectively, then that's good enough. Thank you. So also bringing the language and also culture, now I'm thinking about the diversity. I know you are very passionate for diversity, and you are advocate for diversity and inclusion. What do you see the diversity and inclusion equity play a role in business? Because that's basically what you do. You are the leader of this industry.
Thank you very much. But what I observed, so I started thinking more about it in the last couple of years, and what I observed is that very often it is diversity inclusion is seen as a must-do exercise for companies, that they get delegated into the HR function. And it doesn't belong there. It has to be part of a business strategy. And here are a couple of reasons why I think that is. Number one is a society is not just built out of, let's say I'm living in Germany, it's not just built out of white men. It's a men and women. It's people of different cultures, different races, religions, sexual orientations. Some are, have handicaps, or aren't bodily capable, or all kinds of things that makes us different. And in order to access the best of the available workforce, we have to make sure that we attract all of these talents, not just white men, and that we actually make them feel at home, that we make them feel included, and make them feel heard. because they bring different perspectives into whatever job you are having. They bring a different perspective. So that is an important part so you access a broader talent pool, you get a broader range of perspectives. I've worked, when I started in insurance, it was, I would say, almost 100%, well, in Germany, almost 100% white. I would say leadership position, 100% male. And the overall work population, probably 75 to 25. But then you had, when you went into, back then we had still an office where, women were typing letters. That shows how old I am. Typing letters from things that male executives would dictate into a little dictaphone. I mean, those were the old days. And so you would have women, but women were normally secretaries, receptionists, writing chamber, and so on. And the importance of diversity and inclusion is to make sure that we really get the best of the society into the company, and not just having a favoritism for a certain group that usually supports itself. And that to me is a big part. Then also, so I think I shared with you in our previous course that, I'm running a regional team, multinational. So it's about 50-50 male, female, but it's a wide range of different cultures. So we have now Italian and Indian and German. We have Romanian, we have Japanese, Korean, Chinese, Thai. We have a whole range of cultures, and we work very closely together, and we all bring in a different cultural background and different perspectives. But we are all equal in the way that we look to each other eye to eye. We look at each other as colleagues and friends, and the outcome is fantastic. We have so much fun working together. People are more motivated, and it's great. And coming back to the beginning of my career, we had these teams where there was an older male manager and then younger male colleagues in the team. There's no diversity of thinking, because normally the more senior man would kind of say what he wanted, and the rest would just basically applaud and follow form. If anybody spoke up and dared to challenge that would be basically a nail in your coffin. It would be the end of it. And so, but if you bring in different perspectives, you create this challenge each other, bring out new ideas, bring in a fresh perspective. Don't disqualify somebody because he or she is younger or has a foreign accent or, prays to a different god or whatever it is. So that is, to me, why it is really a business imperative to attract, embrace, and foster diversity. It's not a political thing, and it's not a have-to-do kind of HR function. It doesn't belong into HR.
Wow, that's very insightful, because to some people, they thought it's just political, just to include this many women, this many men into the pool, but it's a very effective business strategy. And I hope many companies will have the opportunity to hear what you just said, because that makes a huge difference. I agree. Also at Marsh McLennan, we have that techniques strive through perspectives. I loved that. And also because of that, it drive our success, not just the company, also the success of the employees. And appreciate your insights. And I already mentioned in the beginning, you share great positivity throughout companies, internal platforms, as well as external platforms like LinkedIn. And you mentioned during our last conversation, like giving is actually more important than just taking or getting. Would you like to share a little bit about that? I found it's very, very inspiring.
Sure. And one of the things that you just mentioned the purpose of Marsh, thriving through perspective, but I had to think a lot about, a couple of weeks ago, I stepped in for my manager to present a global risk report that we release together with Zurich and the World Economic Forum once a year. And the global risk report is really a survey of risk managers and risk and insurance professionals about their outlook of the world. And it's getting darker and grimmer every year. So this year, so I had to really study the report and prepare a presentation and do it. And I thought, like, there's not that much that I can do as a person to really change. I cannot stop the war in Ukraine. I cannot single-handedly stop global warming. I cannot single-handedly stop misinformation. Those were some of the key risks, right? But what I can do is having a positive influence of the people that I meet every day. And so it is also, for me, it's very soothing to my own fears and anxiety to make sure that, I do something meaningful, because I would otherwise, I would probably give up looking at all the challenges that the world faces. But in my little microcosmos, I can do things. And then I also, the last couple of years, I started mentoring. And some people came to me and I said, like, oh, you seems like it seems like you've been traveling around the world, and would you like to be my mentor and this and that? Whatever that means, but sure. And so I do more of that, and I see how rewarding that is. So it's really I would say it's almost a selfish thing to be to paying forward, because it is rewarding to oneself, because it gives you more purpose, other than just counting your dollars and buying a new car or going on vacation or something like that, which is all kind of materialistic, but really giving something to other people and hopefully make them experience the world in a more positive life and have them pay forward something. So that is something that to me is more than a cliche, and I'm still working on it. I'm still learning on it, but it's a lot of fun.
Thank you so much. I can testify that you are definitely shed the light on me to encourage me. And like today, you join my show is already amazing contribute, and that contribution you did to make the impact on me, on my growth. And I probably quickly shared in my last conversation with you, I have this hero dream in me since I was a child. So I always feel like I have this responsibility to save the world. Of course, now I don't have the cape, I don't have the superpowers that I need, but I think the message can still make a big impact on others. So that's why I invite inspiring people like you to share the insights, the knowledge, and the mindsets to create a much bigger impact. I loved what you shared about the power of gaming, and we can call it selfish purpose. Yeah, to find the fulfillment. Sometimes this is just a rewarding. It's a win-win, and you created this positive ripple effect. You are definitely changing the world and to a better place.
And I like the aspect when you say about your own dream that you felt like you have a superhero in you to make the world a better place. And that's the important part when, especially engaging with younger people, is when you're born, normally you look at the world and everything is an adventure, and then gradually adults tell you to conform, to follow the rules, to go to school, bring good results, and they gradually take your creativity and all the positivity out. And then when you start working, you don't really know by that time what your possibilities are. So I think if you have been around the block for a little longer, you can see what's possible. And I think now we need to start almost like rebuilding the youth to dream big, to believe in their dreams and to pursue their dreams, because everybody has a superhero in them. And the superpower is a different one, but everybody has a superhero, and we need to unleash that superhero and give people confidence.
Thank you so much. Your response, your messages are just so empowering me. I felt touched and encouraged and supported, empowered tremendously. And definitely I will still pursue my childhood dream, being a hero, but in different ways. And so because we are all, by the way, I just want to call out is that since I joined Marsh McLennan agency, which is under Marsh McLennan, I felt my dreams getting bigger, and this childhood dream is renewed because of the colleagues like you and some of the other mentors that I made at our organization who really encouraged me and empowered me. And also the company culture definitely fostered the great workspace to empower everyone to be the better version of themselves, to cultivate their potential. I just want to share the gratitude for the company that both of us belong to.
Now they should actually pay you for this podcast after saying that, but I have to say that I agree with that. And so while I would say that the topics that we discuss, and these are our own ideas, but what's important is that we are being, first of all, we are not being stopped doing it, but more importantly, we are being encouraged and empowered. It's embedded in the corporate culture, and I think that is the important part. So we can act naturally in doing what we're doing. So we're not doing it secretly, but we're doing it out in the open, and are very outspoken.
Yes, totally. Yeah, I agree. When we are in the spotlight, doing something that we feel great about, we will just create the bigger impact for sure. Mm-hmm. Also at work, even though, yeah, to be honest, now I'm using blocked sometime from my work time, but I will make it up. I will do better. I will do even more later. Mm-hmm. So the flexibility and the support from the company is just amazing and very, very inspiring as well as empowering. So you mentioned about the mentorship. I know you are very passionate about mentoring, and recently you mentored 2 Japanese college students. Would you like to share a little bit more about that experience?
Oh, sure. That was so much fun. And now on my LinkedIn profile, I've deliberately now taken off, let's say, so you can see my official title in the CV section, but under my picture, there is now something a little bit more general. And one of the words there is mentoring and passion for people. And so last year, I've been contacted by a Japanese lady who lives in Australia who supports the University of Sapporo in Hokkaido, Japan, with a program that she runs, a program that's called Global Skills Program. And that's really a program aimed at second-year students from Japan to connect and engage with business people from another part of the world in English. And so she asked me if I was interested in participating. This is a purely volunteering exercise. So I had to commit per students for 4 calls of 1 hour each. And so I said, of course, I'm very happy to do so. And so I got 2 students assigned to me, and we scheduled 4 calls each. And we had a conversation where we kind of agreed upfront what the conversation would be about, but then also said, like, feel free to deviate from it. So they're 20 years old. And it was interesting because I really had to slow down. So they're not that comfortable in English yet, but I used the chat function to type in the words that I used if they were a bit more difficult, or I explained something. I paused, and so it was really rewarding. And so afterwards, they sent me they had both had a nice post out there, and they sent me a little video inviting me to Hokkaido. It's very rewarding. And the important part to me about mentoring is, I mean, the understanding is always mentoring is like kind of like an old man with a beard giving advice to younger people. Now, the truth is, it's mentoring. It goes always both ways, because 20-year-old students from today have a completely different perspective on life. They have a completely different approach towards social media, technology, that I have. So I can learn so much from them. it keeps me young to engage with younger people. And I remember all the good mentors that I had in my life, they stayed young and relevant through engaging with younger colleagues as I was back then. So that is always an advice. So mentorship is really a more informal way of having a dialogue between generations, between experienced and less experienced. It's not so much a one-way street where somebody just saying, "No, sit down, shut up and listen, and now I tell you all my wisdom that I've learned in my life."
Yeah, I agree. Actually, a mentor is different from a teacher or a coach, or traditional teacher and coach. Maybe nowadays changed. I agree. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. It sounds very rewarding as well as fun and also meaningful, I would like to say. And during my experience in the past many years, for example, my previous job, I was a creative manager. I mentored the students right after college because I have this resonation. I understand how hard it could be for the first job. So I would just show them the ropes and see them grow. And whenever I see the progress and I see the transformation, it's very rewarding. As well as recently at our Toastmasters Club, I have been mentoring some of the fellow members and seeing them taking challenges as opportunities and getting out of their comfort zone. It's very rewarding. So due to time, I know I have so much to ask, but there's one burning question I want to ask, is that you have such a robust network on LinkedIn, and most of the connections that you have are very successful professionals, entrepreneurs, and authors, and just successful people. Would you like to share a little bit about your strategy or how you ended up with so many quality connections?
Well, it's a long story because I remember I started on LinkedIn in 2007. And so it's almost 17 years ago. So it's a long time to accumulate that network. And in the beginning, I looked at it more as a business Facebook kind of thing. So I would post all kinds of things if I posted anything, and most of it, not my own content, but maybe a link and so on. And then over the years, whenever I had a training class, a business conference, or whatever, and we changed business cards, I would go back and connect on LinkedIn. So, but it took years before I really got to the point that I developed a strategy. And it came really with Corona and lockdown. So up until then, I was traveling all the time. I was coming home with business cards. I connected. Maybe I posted something, and but there wasn't really a strategy behind it. Now in lockdown, I had time to spend at home rather than at airports and hotels, where I had to reflect more on my own life. And then so I started seeing if some other people were on LinkedIn that I was interested in, not necessarily connected to business. So you mentioned some authors, and I'm not sure we have the time, but maybe I would like to highlight three people that are very close to my heart.
Yes.
So number one, and I hope the camera works well, is a book called Kiss, Bow, or Shake Hands by an author called Terry Morrison, and maybe we can link it later on in the comment function, the name and the book. So Terry Morrison is a lady from the US who wrote a book about 60 countries and the business practice in those countries. So hierarchy, punctuality, formal versus informal, and so on and so forth. And that is a very, very good guideline. I love it. Every time somebody joins my team, they get a free copy of it. I love it. And I connected with her, and I had phone calls with her. The other one was is a lady called, I know the camera is a bit bad. It's called Between Us by Batya Mesquita. She's a professor at the University of Leuven, and this book is more about the emotional side of culture and how the culture actually forms who you are. And I really got to know about her because a colleague of mine sent me an article about her where she says, as a Dutch person, she went to the US, and the article headline was, all the Dutch are rude and all Americans are shallow. And of course, that is, provocative title to make you read it. But the thing is, the perception is that Dutch are very direct, and they are perceived as rude by some other cultures that are not being direct, whereas the Americans are very often, hi, how are you doing? Oh, you're looking great. How are you doing? Oh, is my best friend. And they don't really mean that. They're just being polite. And so others would call them shallow. So this is really about like where that comes from. So I find this extremely interesting. And I actually went to see her in the university office last year. And the last one I also met her is Heather Hansen. She wrote a book about Unmuted, and she is an American married to a Danish gentleman living in Singapore. And we always, when I'm in Singapore, we always meet for breakfast or lunch and have a chat about it, because her passion is also about speaking up and be confident to speak even though you have an accent. And she's a coach in that area, and she's approaching a PhD. So those three are very, very interesting people. And so these are just three examples of people that I connected with, and I learned so much from them. And then I get approached, and I, start, teaching classes in university. So all of this is so fascinating. So looking at LinkedIn, it's really a way to connect with the world and so this is the long and the short of the story, how I ended up with a network. I'm engaging on this every day, but really with a purpose behind it.
Yeah, wow, that's really, really encouraging, and such great strategy behind it, and the purpose behind it is to connect with people with purpose too. Yeah. On LinkedIn, some people would think it's all about business. It's not really. And I also have connected with you, and also, by the way, Terry, and also Heather, and they are the great authors, and I'm looking forward to further connections with them. And also on I also saw some of the people on LinkedIn I have never met. We're not even in the same industry, but because their mindset or some of the posts are very inspiring, then I just follow and learn from each other. And thank you so much for sharing your tips and tricks to how to create the impact on this world, to make the world a better place. And I know you travel a lot. I believe that's your hobby. And by closing this interview, would you like to share a little bit about what you do for fun in life?
Sure. I mean, yeah, so traveling is a great passion. I have to say, growing up, I never got to travel because, it's particularly my father never liked traveling. So I had to resort to movies to see the big world. And so particularly James Bond and Indiana Jones, and they were my view into the world. But then by the time I got into working, of course, I wanted to see the world for myself, and I still enjoy to the very day connecting with people. Now, that is a big passion of mine, and it neatly supports my profession, but also my other hobbies, because it allows me to. So when I travel, so I've never been a beach person or a hotel, all-inclusive hotel person. So when I travel, I go to countries where I can actually explore the country. So where it is safe and where it is, encouraged to see a bit of the country. So that's when I fell in love with Asia about 20 years ago, after my first trip to China. I really love exploring the different cultures and foods and way that people think and dress and work environment. And of course, now I can combine it with work. So sometimes I travel on business, sometimes I travel for pleasure, but it's just it's just my great passion. The other passion would be rock concerts and rock music, but that would probably be too much for today's conversation. But having said that, one big dream that came true for me was to see a concert at the Budokan in Japan, which is for rock fans kind of like the holy like a holy site for because that's where all the 1970 concert live albums were recorded. So, but yeah, so I try to combine this as much as I can.
Wow, that's amazing. Definitely traveling and going to rock concert are my two things too. Just letting you know, you probably can imagine why do you go to rock concert? Because of my husband. My husband is from Europe. I remember my husband mentioned that in Germany there's a rock festival, and he was even thinking about going to Germany for that festival.
Okay.
So maybe we'll check out. Maybe
that
we
would
can
probably be Rock am Ring. That is the biggest ride. It's a 3-day festival at the Nürburgring racetrack, and I know that my brother, my sister-in-law, and nephew, they always go there. But that's a really like a long festival with lots of bands.
Uh-huh.
I have to say that I still love to go into let's say my favorite bands and just one concert. I'm not into camping anymore. But yeah, but if your husband wants to have any advice, I recommend to connect with my brother, who is a real. He inspired me to all the rock music, but he's an older brother, but he's still going to all these festivals, and it's a big part of his annual calendar.
Wow, definitely we will connect and talk about that rock concert another time. And thank you so much for all what you shared with us. Due to time, would you have other advice or messages you would like to share with the audience?
Well, I think we covered a lot. So first of all, thank you for having me on it. It was a lot of fun. And I think we had a couple of calls in the past, and it was always very enjoyable. And no, I would just say that in times that are very challenging, can be sometimes also scary, it's really about embracing the world that we live in, embrace the people that are around us, trying individually to make the world a better place. Is really the good thing. And the very important message that I made before is really embracing other cultures, being open to learn from other cultures. It's nothing political. It's something that really makes the world a better place. And so with that, yeah, let's stay positive and stay connected.
Thank you so much, Martin. Thank you so much for being the light with me and to create an impact on the world, to create a better place and to create a more beautiful world that we are in. Appreciate all the insights that you shared and the positive impact you have created. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you very much for having me.